very welcome to the latest episode of the South Tip Arts Podcast. Well, this week we are taking to the streets to feature InsideOut, which is the latest iteration of the Spéir Clonmel project. InsideOut is a project led by South Tipperary Arts Centre as part of the wider Spéir in the Open Clonmel project, which is funded by the Arts Council of Ireland in partnership with Tipperary County Council. InsideOut proposed to make the town of Clonmel into an outdoor gallery, including mural and street art and large 2D art installations on the walls around the streets of Clonmel. This installation of works by 7 artists based in or originally from Tipperary was selected through an open call and represents Phase 2 of our InsideOut project. Phase 3 you will hear all about in just a few moments. This week we will briefly introduce each of the artists to you, but first we caught up with Artistic Director of South Tipperary Arts Centre, Helena Tobin, who gave us a bit of information on the wider Spéir project and told us a little bit about what we still have to look forward to in this Spéir project. Helena Tobin, it is absolutely lovely to have you on the South Tip Arts Podcast again. We haven't spoken on the show for quite a while. You're here today to introduce the kind of wider Spéir in the Open project to us and just give us a little bit of background about the wider scope of the project, and then maybe we'll talk a little bit about InsideOut.
Perfect. So Spéir is a programme that was brought forward by the Arts Council specifically to get people outdoors. It was a response to the issues that we all were facing with COVID, with venues being indoors. So I think there's 14 towns and cities selected throughout the country to get this funding, and Clonmel is one of those. InsideOut is one of 4 projects that are happening under the umbrella of Spéir, and all of these events were to happen between last August and this May, so kind of almost a year. So I suppose this is the third of 4. There's another one to come as well, project-wise, and within InsideOut itself there were kind of 3 different phases to it. So the first one is the one I think everyone's really familiar with, which would have been the installation of Tread Softly, the mural at the top of Nelson Street here, just up from the Arts Centre.
That caused a big stir at the time.
Yeah, and we had the 2 Johnnies and everything involved in that, just filming as it happened. But that was the first of, I suppose, 3 phases of InsideOut. And the original plan was to have local and nationally based artists, so hence why it's been broken into different phases. So that launched the overall programme of Spéir. Then there was the Hunchback in October, which is an amazing outdoor musical production, really high quality. And then very recently we just saw the second project, which was Prism, coming from Waterford and from Spéir up here to Clonmel to deliver some kind of spectacular outdoor performances as well. So InsideOut is specifically focusing on the visual arts. So it's about bringing the art from the inside out. So the idea was that simple.
Bring the gallery to the street.
Bring the gallery to the street, turn the gallery inside out kind of a thing. The mural on Nelson Street being Phase 1, Phase 2, which is currently up and is kind of the subject of this podcast, is focusing on 7 Tipperary-based or originally from Tipperary artists. And we've got a range of works focusing on work that was created digitally specifically for digital print. Some work such as Knock's piece, which was kind of created by an algorithm. Then we have like painting such as Maureen Carney, and drawing and painting combination like say Maher's Caprice's work. So all of these works were selected, I suppose, for their impact and for the ability of the work to translate into that kind of large scale printed format.
And huge diversity in the work that's there.
Huge range, and that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to be able to bring out as many different types of visual arts onto that 2D format as possible. Obviously we couldn't hang people's paintings outside, and we couldn't, and it's not, mural art isn't the only art that can be shown outside, so we wanted to kind of mix it up. And it's a temporary installation, and it'll go on until approximately mid-June. So it means like a regular exhibition, it won't last forever and it will go away. But again, it's just to kind of showcase the work that people are making, gives artists a chance to see their work blown up in a whole new context, and also just brightens up the place, and it can give other people ideas about what can be done as well. And then phase 3 starts next week. So we'll have to do another podcast, Emer. And that will see the artist and mural artist Joe Caslin come down to Clonmel and install a beautiful mural responding to the overall theme of Inside Out and Spéir, which is Come Out to Play. And that will go on the facade of the old museum building here on Parnell Street. And that will start installing on Monday. So that will kind of see the last phase of Inside Out.
Now, Joe, as a mural / street artist, technique is slightly different to your normal average mural that gets painted straight onto the wall. So tell us just a little bit about that.
So what's kind of unique about Joe's approach and his method, process, whatever you want to call it, is that his drawings become the mural as such. So he does these beautiful line drawings, black and white pencil line drawings that then get blown up and get printed, and that paper, that work itself gets adhered, fixed to the walls. Now the beauty of that is that it's somewhat temporary as well. So it means that you're not putting it up there forever. It also means that it can come down easily. It has a certain duration to it, and also the materials he uses to fix it to the wall, the chemicals involved are kind of very easily taken down. So that means he can put really stunning murals on heritage buildings and on buildings that might be of heritage significance, such as he did Trinity, for instance. And he's probably best known for maybe the work that he did around the time of the marriage equality referendum in the very large mural on Dame Street in Dublin, which kind of saw him come to everyone's attention. And I think that makes him very different as a mural street artist, because his work hasn't that permanency that other works have. Now, obviously, you can paint over a mural, but you have to paint over it. It's there otherwise. So this work will only, again, last for a certain duration of time, and then it will be cleaned away and taken down, safely removed.
That's fantastic. I think the fact that Clonmel was one of 14 selected towns is a bit of a coup for us down here, because we can often feel like a little bit of maybe the correlation when you're down in kind of rural cities seem to kind of get a lot of resources and we don't always get counted.
Yeah, and I think that's what was nice about this. It saw different organisations come together. So obviously this was led by Melanie Scott, the Arts Office, Tipperary County Council. So a number of artists and organisations, ourselves, Clonmel Junction, and other artists kind of, pitched ideas to Melanie, or Melanie approached different people, and the ideas kind of just came together as, again, kind of just put in an application and see what happens. And, we knew it would be kind of competitive, but it was better to put it in, and we were thrilled then to actually get such good funding to Clonmel to be able to deliver all these kind of really high quality programming.
Melanie's a fantastic arts officer, and actually it just goes to show what can happen when everybody puts their heads together. We're all actually have our own remits as institutions or whatever, but when everybody kind of puts everything aside and comes together, it just goes to show what you can actually achieve. So
and there was a lot of work. COVID impacted nearly every single project. The weather impacted every single project. Loads of things went wrong, loads of things went right. But ultimately, I suppose that's what happens when you try and do things outside. And, one of the things that I feel is important for arts organisations to do is to try and extend beyond the building. If you're building based, to try and extend beyond, because your doors can be constantly open, but how do you reach out to people, bring them in, but you have to go out to them sometimes as well. So that's how this project, I think, worked well.
Excellent. Well, the weather is definitely playing ball with us at the moment.
Yeah,
so
thankfully, fingers crossed.
And the work looks fantastic. So well done. Thanks for taking the time out to have it.
Thanks, Emer.
And just to reiterate again, the fantastic work being coordinated by Melanie Scott at Tipperary Arts Office in conjunction with the Arts Council of Ireland, all the hard work done by our colleagues at Junction Festival and the entire cast and crew of The Hunchback, which was such a huge success and launched this Spéir project back in October. To all the crew from Spéir who worked so hard to produce the amazing Prism show, which we saw in the parade ground at the barracks here. And now it's the turn of our group of 7 local artists selected from the open call for Inside Out. So first up, Maurice Caplice is an artist that works in painting, sculpture and sound. He works between Clonmel, Callan and Dublin. He also works as an artist facilitator and is currently working for a DAB community group in Dublin and for K-Cat Art Collective in Callan. Morris's piece is entitled Last Man Communal Drawing, and I caught up with Morris on Zoom for a chat about the work. Morris, you're very welcome to the South Tip Arts podcast. You are one of our 7 InsideOut artists. Your piece is called Last Man Communal Drawing. Now, the thing that I found most interesting was the communal drawing aspect of that. Can you explain that for people just a little bit who may not know what that's about?
No problem. Nice to be here, Emer. Yeah, so communal drawing is a kind of part of art that everybody kind of drawn together, working on pieces together. And it's definitely taken off in the last couple of years. And I suppose it's about people collaborating and not being maybe as precious with your artworks as maybe kind of people used to be. And maybe trying to free things up a bit in that way. And I think maybe it's kind of like a response to like contemporary music as well, like where people do samples of each other's work and remixes, the rise of kind of Photoshop, things being mashed together in mashups.
Yeah, there's a lot of sticker art on it as well, which I think is quite interesting because I know I've spoken to you before about this, and you've mentioned there's a sticker scene, which I found kind of crazy, but like there's kind of a scene for everything, isn't there?
Yeah, in this day and age, there's a scene for everything. And yeah, there's definitely a sticker art scene, and it would definitely be kind of big in urban areas and stuff. During the lockdown, I missed collaborating with people, so I kind of found a gray area of sticker art. Is it legal even to stickers up? So I thought if it's a gray area legally, maybe I can work with this, and came up with the idea of doing some drawings with sticker art in them.
Excellent. I know you've done some street pieces, but they'd be more maybe sculptural pieces for around the town of Clonmel already. Is this your first kind of big foray into street art?
No, definitely a lot of my work is, I wouldn't probably go as far as to say street art, but it's definitely publicly engaged. Everything from making benches to sculptures to being part of kind of festivals or events, definitely in the public.
People probably know you, Morris, a bit from just locally. If people aren't familiar with your work, is there anywhere specific they can go to find out more about you and what you do?
Yeah, I have a website, www.myname.com. And then I have an Instagram page, and I'll send you to the website as well. Mostly my Facebook stuff is just all about my art as well.
Oh, brilliant. Morris, I'm not going to keep you. Thanks so much for taking a few minutes out to have a chat with me today. The work looks amazing. It will all be up on the streets of Clonmel, and we have a map which you will find both beside the work on Market Street and on the Davis Road, and also on our front door here at the Arts Centre. The work will be up for the whole month of May, so get out on the streets and have a look at it if you're around Clonmel. Morris, thanks again, and best of luck going forward.
Well, thank you very much, Emer, and delighted to be part of it. Thanks a million.
Cheers. Emma Maher is an Irish artist originally from Thurles but now living in Edinburgh, Scotland. She studied printmaking and contemporary practice at Limerick School of Art and Design and graduated in 2014. For the InsideOut project, Emma's piece incorporates both floral watercolours and human hands expressing intimacy, connection and a sense of belonging. Emma launched her small art business in April 2021 and has featured in a number of creative art magazines across the UK in the last 12 months. You're from Thurles?
Yes, I'm from Thurles originally. Yes, I grew up in Thurles and then I went travelling to Canada. So I was in Vancouver for a couple of years before relocating to Edinburgh in 2018. So I actually studied art at Limerick School of Art and Design, where I studied printmaking. I did that from 2010 to 2014. And yeah, I just always loved art, even in school. And I always knew I probably wanted to go into that line of work or at least study that for a couple of years. So that's kind of what got me going with art and studying that.
You're an illustrator primarily, aren't you, at the moment? That's what you work at.
I do have a full-time job over here in Edinburgh, so I'm working kind of a 9 to 5, but this is something I kind of re-engaged with my creative practice last year in April during the pandemic. So I was working from home and I just had a bit more time. And I really just started promoting it on Instagram and it took off. And people would come to me and ask me to illustrate some wedding venues or do custom commissions for them. And I decided to also open up an Etsy shop. So I've been selling prints and it's been really
Awesome.
taking off. So yeah, it's been
Tell
great.
people how they can find you on Etsy, because you have a beautiful style.
So it's just Maher Art. You can also just reach out to me on Instagram. So my Instagram handle is just Maher, and you just drop me a DM. And it's always nice to get a custom piece made for someone. It's a little bit
Really
bespoke.
personal, yeah,
yeah.
lovely. Yeah. So your day job is not related to your illustration at all, is it?
No, it's not. It's been tricky. I've been juggling kind of a corporate job and doing my art as well. So yeah, I've been lucky enough to be featured in almost 7 magazines now over in the UK. So there's Snaz magazine and another couple of creative magazines. But you really make those connections through social media, I find.
Instagram is really good for that kind of thing, isn't it?
It's been great. It really has. And I've really connected with a number of people in the UK and back home. I also sell my prints with the Old Soul Vintage in Tramore in Waterford.
Oh yeah,
And again, that came about through Instagram. She put up on her story that she was looking for some new artists, and I applied. So it's a really great source to make those connections with
fantastic.
Fellow creatives. Yeah.
How did you hear about the Inside Out project, Emma?
So I follow your Instagram page and you put up a story. And at first I thought, I'm not living at home, but I looked at the criteria and it did say it was just that you had to be originally from Tipperary or living there. So I thought I'd give it a go. So I submitted my artwork and I was lucky enough to get selected.
It's fantastic. It's a beautiful piece. And if people haven't seen it, you could just maybe describe it for them a little bit. It's a lyric from a song, isn't it? The text.
Yes, so the lyric is a quote from, it's Ben Howard. He's one of my favorite artists. It's keep your head up, keep your heart strong. And I thought this would really speak to people directly after the last couple of years.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and the piece itself, it's 2 interlocked hands. And it really, I wanted to kind of express intimacy and connection because, of course, in the last 2 years, you couldn't shake hands with people or have that connection. So the piece is mixed media. So it's a digital collage and then there's a layered drawing on top of the hands. So the lyrics are on top of that again. So it's a layered piece.
People will have a chance to see you in front of it if you go and visit your Instagram page, because you had some lovely pictures up last week. I'd love to point people in the direction of maybe your website where they could maybe purchase a print of their own of yours if they love the one that they see here on Market Street. So what's your website address?
Of course. So at the moment, I'm a partner with And So To Shop. So if people want to go onto my Instagram page, I have a link in the bio. And you just click on that link and it will bring you to my shop and all my prints are there. And the hands print that I have displayed in Clonmel is one of those prints.
Oh,
so if you really like that design, you can buy it.
Yeah. I think that could be a very popular one. It'd be a beautiful gift for somebody, actually. It's really inspirational and nice positive. Emma, thanks so much for taking time out to have a little chat with me. The best of luck with all your illustration work going forward.
Thank you very much.
You conquer the world. So
and thank you for the opportunity. It's been fab.
It's lovely to know that our open call had the reach that it managed to reach you over there across the water. So thanks so much.
Thanks a million. See you, Maher.
Maureen Carney is a French-Irish artist based in Clonmel. She started painting in a very representative style, but with experience has moved to a more contemporary and abstract place. She's a graduate in advanced life drawing from the Crawford College of Fine Art, and she mixes media to express herself and her urban-rural background as a city girl now living in the country. Maureen's piece is called Ban Faoin, which is a representation of a number of her paintings placed side by side, a quintage if you like, and they are full of life, energy and colour. So Maureen Carney, it's absolutely lovely to have you here for the South Tipperary Arts podcast. Your work is absolutely incredible. The colours just absolutely blew us away, I have to say. How does it feel to be selected for this exhibition?
I'm very honoured and very happy to be out in the open, as you said, because I'm very happy.
So if you just tell me a little bit about Banfinny?
So Banfinny is about a woman soldier. So it's an exhibition I did after my breast cancer, and I felt that I was obliged to go and think about this woman who fight for us. So I did an exhibition about them, and at the end of this work, I felt in a better place, and I was a little bit looking at Henri Rousseau, the French artist, and she's a very exotic place, and which kind of remind me my childhood, my dream childhood. So that's kind of what it is outside now. It's just
fantastic.
a little bit oop the oop, but it's nice.
And how does it feel for you to have your work on the wall, being like an adopted daughter of Clonmel, shall we say?
I'm very. I can't wait to see what people's reaction will be, because it's very different. And again, I'm very proud of to be selected from the Arts Centre. It's a recognition from the arts group, and so it's nice to see that when you walk and you go out of the normal path, you can achieve things.
Absolutely, and it's probably not your comfort zone. Like, you're a painter, and you probably did this as just, it
was for me.
I'll give it a go.
Yes.
And wasn't it a good idea?
It's confirmed
very
where
good.
I want to go.
Very, very good. If people would like to see more about your work, is there anywhere specific that they can go to look?
Yes, so they've got, they can follow me on Instagram and at MCK Art, Maureen Carney on Facebook, and I've got my website, maureencarney.com. So, or on Twitter as well, Maureen Artist. So
Maureen,
I'm everywhere.
Brilliant, you're everywhere. You're not too hard to spot, and you've done amazing work in the last couple of months with all your fundraising for Ukraine. So well done on that as well, just to mention it.
Well, I was with a great team.
Yeah,
you
with a great team.
Loads of things with people.
That's absolutely
don't
true.
Go too far.
yeah, absolutely true. Maureen, thanks for taking a few minutes to come and have a chat with me. I can't wait to see your work up on the walls, and best of luck with everything.
Thank you. Au revoir.
Noct Studio was founded in Clonmel in 2018. Philip Bryan is a visual artist from Tipperary, currently living in Waterford. He founded Noct as a collaborative art practice with Martin McGlowan in 2018. Noct's piece for Inside Out is a generative text piece which is inspired by the work of C.J. Kickham and can be found at the bus stop on the Davis Road for the duration of the project. So, Philip Bryan, you're very welcome to the South Tip Arts podcast. This week we are doing a special feature on all of our Inside Out artists. So you are here to represent Noct Studios, which is yourself and Martin. Would you like to tell me a little bit about Noct?
Yeah, well, thanks for having us again. So Noct kind of occurred as a collaborative art studio between myself and Martin back in kind of 2017. It was just we had these ideas that we wanted to do and kind of relating to art, and we were going to use Noct as the vehicle to kind of push out ideas that we have or responses to open calls or gallery submissions, stuff like that. So it's just, both of us have separate day jobs, so it's an opportunity for us to explore different things that we might not do in our day-to-day life creatively.
Absolutely. So collaboration is important to you both. Your piece for the Inside Out project is really interesting and very different from all the others, I have to say. It's a word search essentially, isn't it? Would you like to just fill everybody in on how you came up with the concept for your piece?
Yeah, basically it's a word search. When we saw the open call and the brief for the open call, we initially didn't think it was something for us. Basically, we kind of deal with made objects or interactive pieces or kind of things that you would experience. So a two-dimensional thing we probably were initially struggle with. And it was just a team of coming out to play that kind of triggered this idea of play and kind of putting it as a question. And then how would you make an interactive two-dimensional piece? I suppose all art is interactive in the sense that people get to, experience in their art. But could it be something interactive? And so effectively, we were proposing, or what is the piece now is a word search. And the idea is that the scale was the thing that interested us. So the idea that it was going to be a larger piece in a town on a kind of a thoroughfare that people would be passing, and how could art negotiate that scale of those vehicular traffic? It's near a bus stop. So you have people waiting for buses or people just walking past. So the word search is basically, those that haven't seen the work, it's a large scale piece And the way we developed it was we basically made a unique font that allows a font within a font or text within text. The word search is actually, 3 different scales of word searches within themselves, and the font is kind of like a bitmap font that you would associate with retro arcades. And so that's the idea then, is like 3 different levels or 3 different scales of words on the one piece.
I was down having a look at it yesterday, and I have to say there is a lot going on in there. On initial, in the small scale, but seeing it blown up to such a huge scale, it was difficult enough to kind of pull the words from it. But now it's, the more you look at it, the more words that you can find in there. And I know that you're interested in the interactive aspect of it, in that you would like people to maybe circle some of the words in the word search.
Yeah, so I suppose one of our initial concerns was with pieces like this in the public domain is that vandalism might be an issue, and I suppose that is a form of interaction in itself. So by making it a word search, we're kind of encouraging again, that proposal coming out to play. Do people want to interact with it? Do they want to circle words, or is it just people are going to do in their head? So yeah, there is that aspect to it. It'd be interesting to see if that manifests or not. So the work look very different by the end of its display. It would be interesting to see. Excellent.
Philip, thanks for taking the time to talk to me today. Looking forward to hearing some more from Rock Studios, and best of luck.
Brilliant. Cheers. Thanks, Emer.
Wojciech Rozinski is a Polish photographer based in County Tipperary. He was a student at the Eddie Adams Workshop 2015 and the 7 Masterclass in 2016-17. He finds his inspiration in everyday life, trying to see beyond the obvious. His work is inspired by classical documentary photography, and it is never posed or prearranged in any way. His wonderful photograph, inspired by Connemara, is currently on display on the Davis Road along the barracks walls. Wojciech Rozinski, it's really lovely to have you on the South Tip Arts podcast. We're doing a special feature this week on all of our Inside Out artists. Your work was one of the 7 selected for our large outdoor work project. You're a photographer, Wojciech.
I'm a photographer, yes.
For all your life? You've been doing it forever?
I remember that I was always interested in photography, even as a child. I think at the age, probably at 12, I got my first camera that I bought for my own money.
Brilliant.
And was trying to get some photographs when I could.
Yeah.
But the real kind of journey started actually after I came to Ireland, and I think in 2007 around I bought the first DSLR camera, and really that kind of became my real passion.
Very good. The photograph that you've submitted is a really lovely photograph. Just to describe it for people, it's a view of a girl from the back. It's set in Connemara, which is really obvious when you look at it because you've got the pony in the field, but the girl's hair is blowing in the wind. It's a lovely natural sort of it's like as if you capture that moment almost accidentally, which is something that I noticed in your statement. You don't pose people, or you don't kind of plan things rigorously out. You get that moment when
I don't pose photograph. I don't have any preconceptions. I kind of I love the old documentary style, and I just try to capture something. And I was traveling through Connemara with my sister and my niece, and I just saw there were horses, and there was some clothes drying on the wind, and it was all very, very scenic. So I decided to stop my car there and took a few photographs. But I love layers in the photographs, so I kind of I noticed that the wind kind of blows the hair of my niece, and I just stopped. I just stepped back,
and the pony's mane.
Yes,
even
and I just stepped back without her even knowing. I took this photograph, and I actually like it myself.
That's great. I can't wait to see them up on the wall. What does this mean to you to see your work like on such a grand scale?
Oh, it's gonna be something new. Like I never seen my work printed on such a large scale, and especially because it's in Clonmel, the town that is my home now. It's something extra, and it means a lot to me actually.
It's excellent, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they'll be up for a month. If people would like to learn more about you, or maybe need a photographer for a job or anything, is there a special place they can contact you at?
So I am on social media. I have my own website, which unfortunately is my surname, which for Irish people isn't probably the easiest one.
Yeah.
But it's rozinski.com, so it's RYZINSKI. Rozinski.com.
Rozinski.com.
Yeah.
That's easy enough to remember, in fairness. Wojciech, thanks a million. I really look forward to seeing your work in a large scale on the streets of Clonmel. Thanks so much for taking part in the project and for submitting your work.
Thank you for having me here and for showing my work.
Press Play Repeat is a pseudonym favoured by Clonmel native Paul Sheehan. Starting out as a DJ, he progressed into live visuals for companies such as Reebok, HSBC and Head Candy Records, the place where image and sound intersect bring him great joy, and he hopes that Hide and Seek, his exploration of play through the ages, will conjure up some very fond memories of your own. Paul's piece features a sound element which can be accessed by scanning the QR code which you'll find next to his work on the Davis Road. And he joined me for a chat where we talked about what it meant to have his work so large on the streets of Clonmel. Paul Sheehan, you're very welcome to the South Tip Arts Podcast. You are one of our 7 InsideOut artists. Your piece is called Hide and Seek.
Yep.
We're standing here right by it. How does it feel to see your work writ large?
It's brilliant. I mean, to be accepted as part of a collective of artists, having actually been away as well from the town for a period, and to come back and share some of the work that I've done is fantastic. I mean, it's great to be among such a talented bunch of people. I just saw the open call, being back, and I figured, I'd try and bring a couple of disciplines together. So the piece basically is a panoramic photograph that I took while I was living in Hong Kong, probably about 13, 14 years ago. And just by chance managed to get a shot. It was the last shot on a roll of film. It all worked out. It was very serendipitous. And when I saw the manifesto for this project come out to play, I decided to reach out to people that I had befriended, met on my travels across the world, and ask for their experiences as kids, or any stories that they had, memories of play. They didn't see the photograph beforehand, so they weren't kind of influenced in any way, but it was interesting to see some of the stories that came up. So I gathered all of those and then composed, I guess, a soundtrack of sorts, original music underneath, and assembled everything, chopped it all together, and it's an accompaniment piece for the photos. So when people go and see it, there's a QR code, they can stand, scan and listen as they look. So
that was one thing that struck us, was it's such a diverse range of work. You don't just do one thing, you're trying to encompass all the things that you do in one piece.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an actor by trade, primarily, and for the longest time I was kind of cutting myself off from other disciplines. I felt like I really need to focus on this, give it everything it needs. But then I realised, being open to other creative art forms, just it informs the other work and improves upon it. So I kind of got past that phase where, I knew I could do these things, and I was pushing them aside. But I also felt as well, just like what you mentioned there, some of the best art comes from having that collaboration and having people come in and give their points of view. And even with the music, it influenced the music hugely, because as people listen, they'll hear there's a couple of stories in there that aren't so fun or I suppose connected to play in a sense. But it's important to include those too, because I think it can signify so many different things.
We don't want to dwell too much in COVID land, but would you say that collaboration was important to you through that time? Being not able to physically connect with people, that it kind of...
Yeah, I think it did. I think it informed the process massively, because I realised, I was in the US before I came back here, and I had people from all over. We were all kind of reaching out to each other. We all went through the phase of Zooming and doing that weekly quiz or whatever people were doing, or having drinks online, and the one avenue that people kept going to was just telling, in my experience, was telling each other stories. Just kind of sharing experiences and going back, I guess, to moments or in their past that, kind of would, I guess, help them in a sense, or just reflecting. There was a lot of reflection, I think, with friends of mine, and that definitely did influence it as well. I thought, well, people now, in a way, I think seem to be much more forthcoming with own personal moments and experiences. So I just decided to capitalize on that and integrate it into the piece itself. So yeah.
If people want to find out more about the various spectrum of works that you do,
well, I'm on Instagram. That's Paul P. Sheehan. That's kind of like my general page. I don't really use social media an awful lot, but that's the one thing I would use. I'm on SoundCloud, where you'll find Hide and Seek. So that's soundcloud.com. Press play, repeat, all one word. And that's pretty much it. Anything else, I'll probably put it up on social media and kind of inform people. But yeah, that's it.
Paul, thanks a million.
Oh, thanks a million to everyone. Appreciate it.
Laura O'Mahony is from Clonmel. She's passionate about art and design and also likes to create art that brightens the world around her. She's recently returned to creating art after finding her love for drawing and creating again. Laura is also a marketing professional, and at lauraomahony.com you will find tons of tips and tricks for small business owners and entrepreneurs. Laura also does a podcast, which is well worth a listen for marketing ideas for your business. I caught up with Laura on Market Street next to her piece, which is called Stay Curious. Laura O'Mahony, it's fantastic to have you on the South Tip Arts podcast this week. As you probably know, we're doing a feature on all the InsideOut artists. So we are standing here on Market Street in front of your piece, which is called Stay Curious. How does it feel to see it up on the wall?
It's surreal. It's amazing. I've never had one of my own pieces. As I said to you before we started recording, I've designed before for like large format, and I've seen my work, I suppose, up on plate, but I've never had something that I've designed for myself up. So it's surreal to see it. As I said, I drove by this morning and I caught my eye, and then I realised it was mine. That was that was such a cool.
Well, we've been waiting quite a while to see these actually go up on the wall, so they're very impactful, I have to say. Laura, you're a graphic designer by trade, and you're also a marketer. Yeah. So do you want to just tell us a small little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I suppose I grew up, as I said to you, there in the Nationalist. My dad worked there, and I got to see kind of the paper being formatted and the paper being made every week and how that whole process. And I still remember holding that paper when it came off the printing press, and it was hot to touch, and I just remember the smell, and I absolutely fell in love with. I always thought I would end up working in newspaper, working in print design or advertising. And as I grew up, I never lost that interest. I always loved art, and I always loved making things, and I always got the offcuts of the paper from the Nationalist. So I would make things from that. I think I did my junior cert project with metal pieces that came from scraps that were left over from the paper. So that always influenced my, my love of art and my love of design. And then I grew up, went to college, studied advertising and PR, and then I studied multimedia. And graphic design, and a mix of kind of a bit of everything. Do you know what I mean? Say master of jack of all trades, a master of none. Yeah, I kind of then decided, I saw the call for this, and decided to put my artwork in and see. And the minute I did it, I regretted it instantly. I'm like, what am I doing?
I think it's probably fair to say that this was maybe opened up your own eyes to the fact that you maybe want to go back to this. On a bigger scale.
I think so. What it was...
I think when, you have children and family and all these different responsibilities, that sometimes we forget about our own personal work.
Exactly. And I always had that calling to go and do something, and I always would be doing design or doing something in some format, no matter what I did in business. I always had that. But I had that extra calling to do something for myself and something personally. And I was my parents were cleaning out their attic, and I found my junior cert art. I never did art for leaving cert because I just didn't feel I was good enough. And I found my junior cert art, and I took it out. And this is obviously 25 years later maybe. Took it out and was like, I was actually a good artist, and I was actually good. Yeah. And I felt really sad because I was like, I never, went on and pursued anything. I never did it because... kind of felt like I wasn't good enough. And when I look back at the work, I was like, that is really good work. If somebody else showed that to me now, a kid, I'd be like, yeah, it's really good. So
isn't it terrible how we're so hard on ourselves?
Yeah.
I think this might be the start of something wonderful, might it?
I'd love if it was, yeah, because I work in marketing, so I get to work with colour and I get to work with design, and I do design as well as part of marketing, so I get to work with it. But I've never sat down and done something like this is the first time I've done since I've been an adult, obviously for myself. So yeah, I think it's something I definitely will pursue and make time for as well.
So you now get to add street artist to list
street artist to my list of skills. Yeah, it's my master and none.
Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades. Yeah,
another one for the list.
Yeah, exactly.
Laura, thanks so much for stopping by to have a chat with me.
Thanks a million.
Your work looks amazing, and if people want to go find you, have you got a website or anything?
Yeah, lauraomahony.com is my website for marketing. I have a podcast as well called The Marketing Guide.
Excellent.
So they can go listen to that if there's any artists or small businesses or entrepreneurs that want to figure out how they can make themselves stand out online, or use social media, that kind of thing. So my website there and Instagram, I'm quite active on the DMs there. It's at lauraomahony at theword.com, DOTCOM.
Brilliant. Thanks a million, Laura.
Brilliant. Thanks so much.
Well, that's it for this episode of the South Tip Arts Podcast. I hope you enjoyed meeting our 7 artists from our Inside Out open call. Don't forget that you can download a map from the news page on our website. That will let you know where all the works are placed, and you can follow the trail around the streets. We will be sharing a survey with the public very soon, which we would really appreciate your help with. That will be available via a QR code next to the works, and we would really appreciate as many people as possible taking that survey for us. And as Helena mentioned earlier, Phase 3 will commence next week. From Monday onwards, you will be able to see artist Joe Caslin, who will be working on the old museum building, which is on Parnell Street, just at the corner of College Avenue. If you'd like to find out more about the Faoin Spéir project, you can again visit our website. That's www.southtippartcentre.ie, where you'll find all the details. Thanks to everybody for their time in the making of this podcast, and we will talk to you all again next time.